The Napoleonic Wars, fought from 1803 to 1815, were a series of conflicts involving Napoleon Bonaparte's French Empire and a shifting set of European coalitions. These wars changed the face of Europe and reshaped global politics, leaving a legacy that still influences world history today. From the rise of Napoleon as France's leader to his eventual downfall, the Napoleonic Wars were marked by ambition, strategy, and bloodshed. 1. The rise of Napoleon. Napoleon Bonaparte was born in Corsica in 1769, a small island off the coast of France. He rose from relatively humble beginnings to become one of history's greatest military commanders. The French Revolution of 1789, which overthrew the monarchy and established a republic, created turmoil across France. Napoleon, a talented officer, rose rapidly in the Revolutionary Army, gaining fame for his victories in Italy and Egypt. By 1799, France was embroiled in both internal strife and external wars. Napoleon seized the opportunity, staging a coup and becoming first consul of France. In 1804, he declared himself emperor, consolidating power and setting his sights on the rest of Europe. 2. The early wars and Napoleon's dominance. From 1803 to 1805, Napoleon faced a series of coalitions formed by European powers determined to contain France's growing influence. The first major test came in 1805, when Britain, Austria, and Russia joined forces to fight Napoleon's France. Napoleon's military genius was on full display at the Battle of Austerlitz in December 1805. Known as the Battle of the Three Emperors, Napoleon decisively defeated the Russian and Austrian forces, solidifying his reputation as one of the greatest military leaders of all time. In the following years, Napoleon expanded his empire across Europe, defeating armies from Prussia, Spain, and Russia. By 1812, his empire spanned much of Europe, from the Iberian Peninsula to the borders of Russia. His reign seemed unchallenged, but cracks in his empire were beginning to show. 3. The Continental System and the war with Britain. Napoleon's greatest rival was Britain, whose navy ruled the seas. After his victories in Europe, Napoleon tried to defeat Britain by economically strangling it with the Continental System, a blockade meant to prevent British goods from entering European ports. But the blockade was largely ineffective. Britain had a strong economy and global trade networks, and Napoleon's attempts to cripple Britain led to smuggling, economic hardship, and growing resentment in the occupied countries. In 1805, the British Navy struck a decisive blow against Napoleon at the Battle of Trafalgar, defeating the combined French and Spanish fleets and ensuring British control of the seas for years to come. Napoleon's plans for an invasion of Britain were dashed, but his imperial ambitions continued to grow. 4. The Russian campaign and the fall of Napoleon. By 1812, Napoleon's empire stretched across Europe, but a new and dangerous challenge lay ahead: Russia. Tsar Alexander I had begun to break from Napoleon's continental system, and tensions between France and Russia escalated. In June 1812, Napoleon launched the Russian campaign, one of the most ambitious military operations in history. Over 600,000 French soldiers marched into Russia, but Napoleon's logistical problems, the harsh winter, and Russia's scorched earth tactics, burning their own cities to deny resources to the invaders, proved disastrous. At the Battle of Borodino, Napoleon's forces suffered heavy casualties, but it was the failure to secure Moscow that marked the beginning of his downfall. With no decisive victory, Napoleon was forced to retreat, and the Russian winter decimated his army. Less than 100,000 soldiers returned to France. 5. The coalition against Napoleon. The Russian defeat marked the beginning of the end for Napoleon. By 1813, a coalition of Britain, Russia, Prussia, Spain, and Sweden had formed against him. After a series of defeats in Germany, Napoleon was forced to retreat to France. At the Battle of Leipzig in 1813, also known as the Battle of Nations, Napoleon faced a massive coalition army and suffered a crushing defeat. His once mighty empire began to collapse, and by 1814, the Allies were marching on Paris. 6. Napoleon's first exile and return. In 1814, with Paris under siege, Napoleon was forced to abdicate and was exiled to the island of Elba, a small Mediterranean island off the coast of Italy. France briefly restored the monarchy under King Louis XVIII. But Napoleon was far from finished. In March 1815, he escaped from Elba and returned to France, where he regained control of the army and the throne. This period, known as the 100 Days, marked the final chapter in Napoleon's reign. 7. The Battle of Waterloo and Napoleon's final defeat. The Allies, led by Britain's Duke of Wellington and Prussia's Gebhard Lebericht von Blücher, quickly mobilized to face Napoleon once again. The two forces met at Waterloo in modern-day Belgium on June 18, 1815. Napoleon's forces were decisively defeated at Waterloo, marking the end of the Napoleonic Wars. Napoleon was forced to abdicate once more and was exiled to the remote island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic Ocean, where he died in 1821. 8. The legacy of Napoleon. Though Napoleon's empire was short-lived, his influence on Europe and the world was profound. His legal code, the Napoleonic Code, remains the basis of civil law in many countries. His military strategies are still studied in military academies around the world. The Congress of Vienna, held after Napoleon's defeat, redrew the map of Europe and sought to restore the balance of power, ensuring that no single country would dominate the continent as France had under Napoleon. Conclusion. The Napoleonic Wars were a time of great change, marked by both triumph and tragedy. They ended the era of revolutionary France, but they also paved the way for a new political order in Europe. Napoleon's rise and fall highlighted the dangers of ambition, but also the enduring desire for freedom and national identity. Napoleon Bonaparte's legacy endures today, not just as a conqueror, but as a symbol of the relentless pursuit of power, and the eventual cost of that ambition.